Implant Planning with Easy 3DI, site number 19 with Straumann SLA Roxolid Implant System. Objectives are site evaluation of tooth number 19, treatment planning, treatment plan verification, case presentation, as well as post-operative comparison. This video treatment plan presentation is intended to demonstrate the features and functions of the Vatech treatment plan software. As a clinician, it's your responsibility to utilize these software tools along with your own expertise and personal professional judgment to create and implement a successful treatment plan for your patient. We'll start in the 3D rendering in the bottom right hand corner of the MPR screen and utilize one of the many tools such as annotation, where we can then left click, drag our mouse, and draw a circle around the site we're going to do our site evaluation and treatment planning. We'll then navigate to the top of the screen and left click on 3D pan. From here, we'll left click inside the green box and move our navigation pane to site number 19. We'll then rotate the sectional lines to match the angle of our implant, and then from here we'll begin planning our case. I'll select the Enter key on the keyboard to maximize my viewing area, and we'll evaluate then our site where we're going to do our implant. Let's first identify our inferior alveolar nerve by clicking on the Draw Canal tool. I'll left click every few millimeters and use the center wheel of my mouse as I navigate towards the posterior of our arch. When I'm done, I'll simply double left click and then scroll my mouse going away from me towards the anterior region of the arch to verify the placement of our canal. I'll select the Enter key again and then move my sectional lines back over to site number 19. I'll then navigate down to the scout window in the lower left hand corner and left click on the toggle to be able to rotate around that site, in this case here essentially generating a sagittal view looking from the buccal aspect, where I'll then measure my occlusal space, measuring from the distal of tooth number 20 to the mesial of tooth number 18. I'll left click to move the measurements out of the way and then verify I have enough occlusal space for my implant. I'll then measure my buccal lingual distance by hitting the Enter key on the sectional views to maximize my view, click on my ruler, and left click once near the ridge from the buccal to the lingual aspect, and then measure from that point down to the superior border of the nerve. Left click to move the measurements out of the way. Another tool I can use to measure bone quality is the Profile tool. I'll click once on the buccal aspect, once on the lingual aspect, left click to move my graph out of the way, then as I slide my mouse across the graph itself, you can see a vertical white line going buccal lingual to show you the density between those 2 points. Now that we've verified we have enough bone and stability for our implant, we'll begin planning our case itself. We'll click on the Insert Implant icon along the left hand side, start at the top, choose our tooth number, company, lineup, and then choose our length. Click on Insert, then move the implant window off to the side and left click at the occlusal end where we want to drop our implant. We'll go ahead and clean up our workspace by right clicking and deleting that profile density measurement. To make the implant active to make adjustments to it, left click once on the center of the implant, line it accordingly off the apical end, and to add a crown we can right click on the implant again, put a check mark there for crown, click OK, and then add our virtual crown as well. We'll hit the Enter key to go back to our previous layout, then to adjust our crown we'll right click on the crown itself, go to Show Controller, and now we can change the angle of the crown going mesial distal. We can also right click on the virtual crown to change its size. Select Edit Crown. In this case here, we'll change the height of it to match the height of teeth numbers 18 and number 20. And once we verify the height matches correctly, click on OK to save those changes. We can also replace this implant if we choose to. I'll hit the Enter key on the keyboard to maximize my workspace, double left click on section number 34, and then right click on Property. From here we'll choose our lineup and we'll select the SLA Roxolid, choose the length that we want to use, and click on OK, and it'll replace it in the exact same angle as the one that was in there previously. We can then right click on the implant, go to Show Information to verify the implant that we replaced it with. There are a number of tools we can use to verify the placement of this virtual implant, such as clipping. We'll select our drop-down list and change it from sagittal to smart, and then use a slide rule and move it towards the midpoint between front and rear. Left click then to rotate our panorama view. Select the Enter key in the keyboard and then adjust it further until going through the midpoint of our virtual implant. We can then left click to rotate up and down, as well as side to side, to verify the angle between two cortical plates, but also perhaps to verify the placement of our implant so we are then clear from the superior border of our nerve. Another common, very popular tool is called oblique. To maximize this feature to its fullest potential, what we're going to do then is rotate our coronal line through the long axis of our virtual implant in the sagittal window, and then we'll rotate the sagittal line through the long axis of our implant in the coronal window. Once we've done that, click once on the oblique button, and then click once right at the center of our virtual implant. Move the mouse to the yellow line to rotate around the virtual implant itself. Looking at our view in the upper left hand corner, we can then generate a view looking from the buccal aspect, posterior anterior view, as well as rotating around from the lingual aspect. Once we're done, we can also navigate over and click on the camera to create an image to use for our consultation tool. We'll use the EasyDent Eye software to do our case presentation. Left click once on the console tab at the top of the screen, and then along the left hand side, left click on our video categories such as implant dentistry. In the bottom right hand corner, left click and drag the video into the pane, which will then automatically play. Double left click to go into presentation mode, and then when you're done, you can then left click on the box in the upper right hand corner to go back to your previous layout. You also have the ability where you can left click and swap out images, change your layout where you can do a 2x2 view, and then left click and swap out other images. Double left click again to go into presentation mode, and when you're done, hit the X in the upper right hand corner. With our implant surgery completed, we utilize the same oblique tool to verify the placement of our actual implant. We'll start by rotating the coronal line through the center of our implant in the sagittal window, and then rotate the sagittal line through the middle of our implant in the coronal window. Once you've done that, you can then click on the oblique button along the left hand side, and then click once again on the middle of our implant in the axial window. Left click on top of the line to then rotate around our implant, starting with our view from the buccal aspect. Continue rotating around from a posterior anterior point of view, and then lastly rotating around to look at it again from a lingual aspect.